Some resume service providers don't want me to make this video, but job seekers deserve to know the truth. In this video, I'm going to debunk several of the myths that you've heard about the applicant tracking system, or the ATS, or the robot, as it's often called, and give you nothing but the truth about this resume scanning software. If you want twice weekly tips, tricks, and advice that will help you advance your job search and land interviews faster, then you're in the right place. I post new videos every Tuesday and go live every Thursday. My videos will equip you with some of the most valuable tools to make your job search easier, because job searching shouldn't be this hard. I'm Kamara Toffolo, resume writer, LinkedIn consultant, and job search strategist who helps working professionals dare to do work differently and land great fitting gigs. Unfortunately, there's been a lot of misinformation floating around about the applicant tracking system, or the ATS, as I'll call it throughout this video. Unfortunately, there are some resume writers who misunderstand how the ATS works, and also some other professionals turned career or job search hobbyists who also misunderstand how the ATS works, and job search and career professionals who just like to use ATS fear-mongering as a form of marketing. For those of you who don't know what the ATS is, let me break it down really quickly. When you apply for a job online, it is often passed through the ATS, which is a software used to manage your application through different stages of the application process and at different touch points with different people in hiring. ATSs are often used by recruiters and talent acquisition professionals. My concerns over ATS misinformation and ATS fear-mongering has inspired my mission to understand the ATS more fully. I have spent countless hours researching the ATS and engaging with recruiters so that I can better understand how they use the ATS in their work. I want to share what I've learned with you by debunking several ATS myths and serving up several truths. You'll want to stick around for this entire video because at the end, I'm going to share a pro tip with you that will help you check how your resume looks to an ATS. So let's jump right in. Let's start with myth number 1, which is the more keywords, the better. This is not true. When it comes to keywords, it's all about quality over quantity. Quality means that we're aligning the keywords with the target job posting. It also means that we're backing up those keywords with accomplishments. The purpose of keywords is to be searchable by humans. When we focus on quantity of keywords rather than quality of keywords, we fall into the trap of keyword jamming. You may have heard some advice about using teeny tiny white font to include a bunch of keywords in your resume. This is one of the worst pieces of advice. You're not fooling anyone with that tactic, and you can pretty much say goodbye to the possibility of an interview if you use it. Another myth is that hyperlinks will result in your resume getting rejected. So perhaps you've hyperlinked your email address or your LinkedIn profile in your resume to make it easy for the recruiter or the hiring manager to email you or view your LinkedIn. This is perfectly okay. The ATS will not reject your resume because you happen to include a hyperlink or happen to include a few hyperlinks. What you'll want to make sure that you're doing, though, to keep everything on the safe side is to include the full text of the hyperlink. If the address of the hyperlink is passed over to the reader, it will show them the full URL rather than just possibly something that says LinkedIn. The next myth is that the ATS doesn't like fonts that are smaller than 11 points, or it doesn't like fonts that aren't sans serif like Times New Roman. Look, Times New Roman is a boring font, all right? And fonts that are smaller than 11 points might be hard to read. But the ATS doesn't have discerning tastes about fonts. Font size and style should be considered when you're writing your resume, but this is for the human reader, not the ATS. The ATS doesn't give a shit about what font you use. The next myth is don't ever submit your resume as a PDF. The old thinking was that the ATS was so simple that even uploading your resume in Word was risky. It was even recommended to use plain text. Now, how something supposedly this simple could also be considered to have font preferences, well, that's beyond me. Companies' career pages will usually define approved file formats. If PDF is shown as an approved format, then you can use it. But if nothing's there, then stick to Word just to be on the safe side. I'm about to blow the biggest ATS myth out of the water. But before I do, how are we doing so far? Is this easing your mind about the ATS? Tell me in the comments below with a yes. Okay, are you ready for the big myth that I'm going to debunk right now? This has got to be the most egregious ATS myth out there. And it's confused many job seekers for many years. And that is, your resume can be rejected by the ATS without a human ever seeing it. For the record, humans reject resumes, not the ATS. You may have heard that 75% of resumes aren't even seen by humans. This is not true. The only time that this is true is based on showstopper types of questions like, can you legally work in the region? Of course, this is an acceptable and reasonable thing to expect from someone applying to a job. So that said, in nearly all cases, a human is reviewing your application before a decision is made whether you'll be going on to the next round or that they will pass on your application. Even if you get a thanks but no thanks email in the middle of the night, even if you get it quickly after submitting your application, the likelihood is that a human had eyes on your application and decided not to move forward. So now that we've debunked a bunch of ATS myths, I'll now dish up some ATS truths that will help you keep your job search on track. First truth is to only apply for jobs for which you're qualified. When you find yourself reviewing a job post and thinking, I could do that job, that's not enough. Instead, you should be thinking to yourself, I have done that job and my resume reflects that. When you find yourself saying that indicates that you're qualified and it's appropriate to apply. Applying when you aren't qualified will just cause you frustration when you don't hear back and will cause hiring folks frustration when they feel that you didn't put much thought into your application. The next truth is always submit your resume in a chronological format, not a functional format. What is a functional format anyway? It's when you lump accomplishments together in categories in the beginning of your resume and then follow it up just by listing your job titles. A chronological resume, on the other hand, allocates your accomplishments to the job in which they occurred. Using a functional style resume won't help you comply with the ATS. ATSs are designed to read like a human, and so a chronological resume is what it's looking for. Our next truth is ATSs can't read text boxes, the header and footer section of a Word document, or images. The ATS may not be able to read these things, but that doesn't mean it's going to reject your resume because of these things. Instead, any part of your resume that shows up in a text box, shows up in the header and footer section, or shows up in an image will pass through to the human reader as blank. So what you'll want to do is avoid using text boxes, the header and footer, and images, and build your resume in the body of the document and let it read from left to right like a human would read it. Check out a few of the videos that I've linked in the description below where I've offered resume formatting training. Our next truth is that columns are not advisable. The only exception to this is if you're using columns to build your skill section. This works just fine. I've linked my 2 videos below that cover how to format your skill sections. I provide a column way and an even easier way. What causes problems particularly is if you're using what's called a multi-panel resume. A multi-panel resume is where you've used long, large, full page length columns to build your resume. As the ATS is designed to read like a human from left to right, when you use multi-panels or columns, it's going to get a little confused and not send the content of your resume through to the human reader properly. And here's the pro tip I wanted to share with you. If you're wondering how your resume looks to the ATS, convert it to a plain text file and review how the content looks. This shows you how the ATS will be interpreting your resume. And it will also show you if you need to make any fixes. So to sum up, the ATS is a tool used by hiring professionals. It is not a tool with a mind of its own. It's not a robot. It's not AI taking over the planet. If it was, why would humans need to be involved in the hiring process at all? And that's the thing. The most important audience to keep in mind as you're writing your resume is the human reader. And here's my cue for you. Which ATS rule or myth was the most surprising to you? Tell me in the comments below. I make a lot of videos, posting every week on Tuesday and going live every Thursday. But I also make free guides for your job search. If you'd like to get my cover letter guide and checklist, make sure to grab it. The link to it is in the description below. If you found this video helpful, give it a like, share it with a friend, and click on my face, I think it's over there, and subscribe. And I'll see you next time.